What's going on, guys? My name is Caleb, and welcome to episode number 2 of The Day Christ Met Me. We have my brother Todd here. He's also our youth pastor here at Freedom Chapel, and I'm excited for this one. He has a wonderful testimony that he was willing to come on here and share with you guys. Bear with me because my voice is a little lost, but yeah, I'm excited to get into this one, and let's get it rolling. So Todd, take us. To start off, take us to your life pre-Jesus, before you got saved. A lot of people watching this may know you now, but they may not know you, how you were before you were saved. Okay. So take us to your life before you were saved and how you were before you met Christ.
All right, so for me, I got saved when I was in 8th grade. So before 8th grade, it was a life of being raised by my grandparents. Both of my parents, they had me when they were 18 years old. So
that's young.
Very young. So, but they were at a stage where they really couldn't take care of me at the time because obviously they're 18. So father was off in the military, and then my mom was just off doing her own thing. So then I was raised by my grandparents. So grandma and grandfather. Grew up in a strong Catholic household. So growing up, not really knowing Jesus as I know him today, but it was more so ritualistic. It was going to church. It could be Saturday Mass, 5 o'clock, going to Sunday Mass early in the morning, and it was just going through the motions of going to church for 45 minutes, up, down, kneeling, take communion. That was my whole life. But then what started to change is, I think growing up in a household, it's growing up without my mom was off. Eventually her and my dad, they got divorced. Okay. So she ended up marrying my stepdad, and then they started to have their own family. And then dad was off doing his own thing, and I'll get into him later. Yeah. But the real challenge was growing up with my grandparents, knowing that where I go to school, everyone has mom and dad, but I have grandma and grandpa. And at the same time, a lot of people may not know this, I know I shared it before, but I grew up at a time when ADHD was they were starting to diagnose it, and it was like really big. So I got kicked out of so many schools, and this was when I was in kindergarten. Got kicked out of private school. I was gonna jump out of like second floor windows. Really? When I was in kindergarten, I would run down the hallway, take people's heads, like smash them in the water fountain. Wow. So it was very hard for me to adjust. And then I actually had to go to public school with a special aide that would take me from my home to the school just to make sure I didn't cause any trouble, to make sure I was okay. And then that same aide would be in the class with me in the public school. Eventually the public school was like, you know what? Like, you really can't come here. The private school didn't really want me. So then that's when they had the BOCES program. Okay. I'm familiar with BOCES. And with the BOCES that I was in, it wasn't really like the tech part, but this was like 2nd grade. So it was more so special education. So being in a situation where now I'm out of the public school system, but I'm in a special educational school where it's a 611, meaning 6 students in a class, 1 teacher assistant, 1 teacher. And I was in that situation from 2nd grade all the way up to about 5th grade, 6th grade. When I got to 6th grade, and also during the same time in these programs, it's a intensive counseling program. Okay. So not only am I getting medicated because I was on medicine with Ritalin with the ADHD, but part of the special education system is I have a counselor, and I meet with the counselor twice a week. Okay. And it's basically there just to talk about life, just talk about what's happening, what's going on. every time I would go into the counseling sessions, I wouldn't be able to share what I'm sharing now. It would mostly be just, I'm in there, we're playing board games, we're playing all that stuff. They're trying to get me to open up, but I wouldn't open up. I would shut down right away. Within that 6th grade, because that's the special educational school, they wanted to send me to a different school, a different BOCES, basically just a trade school. And then my grandmother was fighting for me. My teacher at the time was fighting for me because they were like, no, you know, he's smart. Because BOCES has 2 different types of programs. They had a career center that you can go to when I was 7th grade, or I can go to like their academical school. So even though I was in the behavioral schools, and just to give background on those behavioral schools, I'm talking about schools where from 2nd grade to 6th, you get restrained if you would like act out of line. They would like put you on the ground, restrained. But that's all because I was so hyper with the ADHD and whatnot that they had to physically restrain me just to keep me calm.
I was gonna ask, was all this stemming from something that was going on at home? Was it something that was it from the ADHD alone that you were just acting this way? Was it like a thing where you maybe trying to fit in somewhere? What was
I don't think it was the fit in thing. Those problems came later.
Okay.
Maybe there is some underlining thing, you know, not growing up with a mother, not growing up with the father, but all that was just ADH related. And what happened that was big, it was in that 6th grade when it was time to go to the career center or the academical school. My teacher at the time, and I'll never forget her, Mrs. Goldstein, was saying, you know what, Todd's taking the state test. He's testing at a very high level, so he should go to the academical school. Whereas my counselor at the time was like, I don't think he has it in him. That's really not his future. Put him in the career center. And my grandma was fighting, was like, no, if he is testing at a high level, if he is showing, then let's put him in the academic school. So that's when they decided, you know what? They're going to send me to the academic school. They're going to put me on a 30-day just trial. If I really don't make it, I don't fit in, then they'll send me to the career center. As you would know it, 7th grade hits, I'm in that academic school. They messed something up. So when I'm in the academic school, I'm in there, but they accidentally put me in the Tourette syndrome class. So I'm in this class with students that have all types of issues. I have the ADHD, but I don't have the Tourette syndrome. But despite all that, I was able to do really well. And what was supposed to be 30 days ended up being so much longer than that. And that's 7th grade. Then after 7th grade, we get to 8th grade, and that's when everything changed.
Okay.
Because the strong male figure that was in my life, which is my grandfather, he passed away during the summer of 7th and 8th grade.
Okay, wow.
And I'll never forget that day, July 4th. I was at my best friend's house. It was a July 4th. All of a sudden, my grandma comes, my dad comes, tears in their eye, knocking on the door. I answer, they say, you know, where am I at? Because I did a sleepover at my friend's house. And then my dad like grabs me and hugs me and was telling me like, he's gone. And then I really couldn't believe it.
How old were you at this time? You
said about 12.
12, wow.
So 12 years old when that hit me. And I remember when I got home, they brought me home and my grandfather had a massive stroke. But when they brought me home, I didn't know how to react. So there was a light switch that we had in the bathroom and I just ended up breaking it, shattering it into pieces. So
that was your way of like, that was the only way you knew how to react at the time, was just anger. I figured that because I feel like at that young age, it's just like so hard to cope with something like that, especially you share about the influence he had in your life. Having to process that, like, I just lost someone who, you know, he was a huge influence to me. He guided me, he encouraged me, he helped me in so many different ways, and it just gone like that. I feel like at that age, you tend to just run to anger at that point. So After that, just a little bit fast forward, was there like, was it a constant thing? Like, it took you a while to get over this? Like, were you always angry? How are you feeling after that moment?
Well, the thing between 8th grade and 9th grade was the time when, before that, because my grandfather passed away, my dad was in and out of the house because he was a major, major drug addict. So I'm talking about dropping me off places, and I held a lot of resentment towards my actual dad because of the drugs. So dropping me off at like the YMCA, promising to come pick me up, and then I'm waiting there for hours and he's not showing up. But the biggest blessing comes when, during that 8th grade year, in between 8th and 9th grade, that's when a family friend brings him to Teen Challenge, and then I get introduced to Christ. So now I'm receiving something that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
I have that outlet where people are talking to me about Jesus, and I didn't have that before. At the Catholic Church, it's just, ritualistic, not really building relationship. But now I'm at a place where it's like, worship is good. Pastor is talking to me.
Yeah.
Responding to altar calls. So then that's when life really started to change.
Wow. So so it was through your father getting brought there that you got introduced to the Lord a little bit. How was the community at the time? Were you like, I'm sorry, what grade were you? How old were you at this time?
That was between 8th and 9th grade.
So you about 14, 13?
I wouldn't even say that because I started early. So
yeah, okay, yeah.
It's about, like 13.
Okay. So were you meeting like other like young Christians around your age at the time? And how deep was your desire to know the Lord at this moment in your life?
It came to a point where I was supposed to go to the Catholic Church. I was supposed to get my confirmation, but I told my grandma, I was like, I don't think I want to go here anymore. I'd rather be at church. I'd rather go to prayer service. I'd rather be in the church because there was something that the church had, they were offering that I just needed in my soul.
It wasn't like a ritualistic
It wasn't
thing.
ritualistic at all. It was something that was soothing my soul. And it's the first time I ever been at church where pastor's calling me up and he's pointing me at an altar call. I'm just standing up front and there's so many people at the altar call, but he was like, you can be somebody. And I was like, me, you can be somebody. And during this time, there's people that are going to this church. If I'm in 8th, 9th grade, there's seniors that are within the youth group, within this church, and every week they're telling me, hey, you should come to the youth group. Hey, you should come to the youth group. And to be honest, I was like, nah, I'm not coming. I'm not coming. And I said that for all of 8th grade. Like, no. And then during the summer, when they had a hoop challenge, and I came for the basketball camp, I was like, you know what? I like some of these students here. They're inviting me to come. They want me to come out on a Wednesday night for a splish splash trip. I was like, let me try it out. But then when I came, I felt like so embraced. And then the youth leaders just started to pour into me. So it's like, you know what? I need to be here.
Yeah. So that happens right now. As you continue to move forward, what was it like? Now you were once Catholic, now you're in this church, and you're finding community. You're going to Hoop Challenge, and all these things. Would you say that you were saved at this time? Were you like in your word and things like that, or were you just like, oh, I'm going to Hoop Challenge, I have these people around me, and I'm fine doing this right now?
Would I say was I deep in the world? Not at all. I was more so just at least going, attending the events, going to youth group once a week, attending church. Be honest, I was in the Word as far as, hey, Sunday service, pastor says open up, I open up the Word. Pastor says Tuesday night service, open the Word, I'm in the Word. And at this time, I'm starting to see something change within my father as well, because he's in Teen Challenge. So I'm getting to see him start to really sober up.
Yeah.
And the other programs that he was in, it was mostly like 30 days here, 30 days here. But now he's getting something. And in turn, what would be a big sin, you know, drug use and whatnot, would have an effect on me, because that actually brought me and my grandma here.
Really?
Yeah, because like I said, we came from the Catholic
background
faith. She grew up Baptist, but I didn't grow up like that.
Yeah.
So for me, this is all new. This is all, it's like, why am I coming?
Yeah.
There's something that's pulling me to come here. And I thank God for the constant pastors that poured over me, but mainly the youth group is where it really started to, I started to get something.
Yeah.
And I remember this one youth leader. I had so many, but this one youth leader got me to do a drama. And I was like, you want me to do what? You want me to be part of this fine arts festival with this, to do this drama? But then he worked with me. So I don't know if it was necessarily doing the drama that I was appealing to, or the fact that I started to have male figures that weren't my father, that weren't my grandfather. They started to pour in me.
Yeah.
So that's really where I started to say, you know what? I like this.
Yeah, that it's funny because I can relate to that same thing where when my father passed away, because I lost my father when I was 17, as I shared in the last video. It wasn't until the Lord started to place other male figures that weren't my father in my life, because I feel like when you're a young man and you lose your father at such a young age, you start to like, and you lose that, and especially when you're close to, if I was close to my father, you were close to your grandfather who had an influence on you. When you lose that at such a young age, I feel like you're at the point where it's like you're losing wisdom, because your mom could tell you things, and moms are amazing. I'm not saying moms aren't amazing, but like your fathers, grandfathers, even uncles, whatever, strong male figures that you have in your life that are a part of your family, they have such a big influence on you because they can relate to you a lot. One thing that the Lord placed in my life was a bunch of male figures in my life to help me to grow spiritually, and even like just naturally taught me how to be a man. So that's amazing to hear that the Lord placed that in your life, because I feel like when you lose a father at such a young age like that, and even for women that may lose a mother figure, even a father figure, no matter what, it's important to seek wisdom. And I talked about this a little bit in the last video. It's important to seek wisdom, because the Lord will place that in your life. The Bible says that the Lord gives wisdom liberally. For me, and with Todd sharing right now, the way that he installed wisdom was seeing that we needed men and male influence in our life, placing that in our life, and having it there, having them there to help us to grow. So that's amazing, Todd. That's honestly really amazing. I want to get into, now that you're talking about youth group, I want to get into, and you were just talking about drama and fine arts and everything, which is something we do here at Freedom Chapel, which the youth partake in. Tell us a little bit about when you knew because I knew you were called at a young age. Talk about when, and if you remember the moment, expound on that, when you were called to be a pastor, when you knew this is what I'm called to do, this is what I'm passionate about, this is where the Lord is leading me.
I think when I felt that I was called was when every single youth leader poured over me. And it all started with a woman that I consider to be like my spiritual mother, Dawn Lloyd. She, when I came here at the time, she was the youth group leader. And even though she wasn't, the strong male figure, she had no problem sitting there and investing into me. She was planting seeds in me. So it would be more so checking on me, It was more so like, what's going on in school? Hey, you know, this is that. She didn't mind like pulling me out. Hey, we're gonna go grab a bite to eat. We're gonna go talk about life. We're gonna see how you're doing. I got more out of those one-on-ones than I did with any of the intensive counseling that I had at the school. Because at the school system, and just to share with that, I ended up staying in special education all throughout because I just liked the atmosphere of the attention that I was getting, meaning like the one-on-one attention, whatever. But I would never open up to the counselors there, but to the people here at the church, I would open up. So it was the youth leaders, it was the youth pastor when he came in, Pastor Chris, it was Royal Ranger commanders, really teaching me, molding me to be a man. And because those ministries had such a big influence on my life, and I was just so young, I was like, you know what? I in turn want to be that person one day to do the same thing for someone else like they did for me. So that's really what made me think, you know what? I want to do this. And the call really came in 11th grade when I was asked to go on a trip to the Bible college in Springfield to CBC. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to go here one day. And even though I went there, I went on the trip, and it was like during President's Week. So I was there for a week, saw the school, saw the campus. I ended up not going, but that doesn't mean that I still wasn't invested that, you know what, this is ultimately what I want to do. The dream was still there.
Yeah.
But I just stayed plugged in, stayed in the youth group, stayed disciplined, and stayed listening to all the youth pastors, youth leaders that came in. And I learned something along the way from every single person within that youth group, starting at when I first came in, from the youth leaders at the time, going up to when we got a youth pastor in, going up to when I eventually became just a drama leader. I'm like 20, 21 years old, a drama leader in the group, to serving under Pastor Jake as like his right-hand man. So every step of the way, I learned something from somebody else, and it made me go, you know what? I eventually want to be in that spot because I want to help others.
So one thing that I just picked up that you just said was you were serving under Pastor Jake at the time in the youth group. I feel like a lot of people look at pastors, they see them in the moment when they're preaching, they're on the pulpit, they're the head of so many things. But what a lot of people don't talk about is the servanthood that comes with being a good leader. It's something that even now I'm learning, is servanthood, because I know I'm called to be a pastor. I know I'm called to be in ministry. But one thing I feel like the Lord is teaching me right now is servanthood, how to serve, how to spend time, behind the scenes doing other things. Because also being a pastor isn't just, and you would know, being a pastor isn't just getting on the pulpit and preaching a sermon. That's what a lot of people see. What people don't see is what happens behind the scenes. Just being a servant and everything of that nature, serving in so many different areas, taking care of so many different things. Talk a little bit about how it was at the time when you were serving under Pastor Jake, and you're called to be a pastor, but you're still serving under somebody. So for someone watching at home, even for myself, because I'm learning it, what would you say, what are some things that we could pick up on that we can take with us as we continue in servanthood, but still knowing, I know that I'm called to be a pastor?
I think the biggest thing, and you touched on it earlier as well, is that when you are, a lot of people look at people in general, so this is just a side thing, a lot of people look at people in general and they automatically think that when it comes to being a pastor, or when it comes to, they idolize the man too much. And by idolizing the man, they're looking at it like, oh, he knows the scriptures, oh, he can quote this part of the Bible, this part of the Bible. That's all good. Knowledge is all good, but the knowledge doesn't mean anything unless you know how to apply it. And to me, the best part of application is having practical ministry. Many people will say your theology needs to be strong. Yeah, it needs to be strong. But if you're going to reach people, you need to have practical ministry. You need to show people like you're a good Christian character, who you are as a person. And I think that's what drew me into the people. It wasn't really like they preached about Jesus. I got that. You get it. But for me growing up, it was like, why are they doing what they're doing? How come they're not out in the street? How come they're doing those things? And what a lot of people don't see that really made me want to become a youth pastor and really get into it is the stuff that I did see behind the scenes. It was more than just prepping for, at the time, it was a Wednesday youth group service and just going on trips and whatnot. But it was the after school programs. It was opening the building to all these students that just wanted to come in and just wanted a place to hang out and share life and just experience in a healthy place, knowing who God is. It wasn't the sermons are good, obviously, all that stuff is good, but it's just the time spent with the students. And I watched Jake serve. He would do his after school programs, and he would really be invested in the student's life. And I remember when the church didn't really have a youth pastor at the time, and when I eventually got into the role in 2019 of being just the youth director, me and my wife, or she wasn't wife at the time, but we enjoyed it because there was 7 students that came through the door every week. It wasn't about the numbers. It wasn't about having like 30, 40. It was 7 students. They all were from Amityville. Students may not have smelled the best. Some of them may have been smoking every week, but every Wednesday, 7 o'clock, they were coming through those doors, wanting to be here. Didn't matter if we put on the dance music. It didn't matter if they just wanted to be here. And they would stay here till 9:30, and then me and Rosemary would single-handedly drive those kids home as well. And they were all students from the streets, and it was like, you know what? This is ministry. Yeah. There's a reason that they're coming here. There's a reason why they want to be here. And for me, it wasn't about doing all the sermons. It wasn't about the glory. It was about those students because they're in situations that I was in. Single parent household or no parent, grandparent. Some of them may have been arrested, but that's what it was about. Yeah. And it was a lot of time and tears spent just to pour into them. Yeah.
It's great that you hit on that because I feel like one of the things that drew me into the youth, because I serve with Todd in the youth ministry, under Todd in the youth ministry, and one of the things, because you talk about how you were doing all these things and you came to the realization, this is what ministry is. I feel like a lot of people have this view on ministry, especially like, in a pastoral role, you're preaching, you're doing this, you're doing that, but it's all about, especially in the youth ministry, are you being relational with the kids? Are you trying to build a relationship with them, find common ground with them, and just be relatable? As well. I feel like one of the things that drew me to the youth ministry and so one of the things that just continues to light my fire is the fact that I can be relational with them, which is something that you just shared about that I feel like is extremely important when dealing with youth, because I feel like a lot of youth, there won't really be a connection unless you're able to relate with them and understand them. And also leaving the door open as well. Another thing you talked about in that moment was that you had that faithful 7 that came, but you guys left the door open for them. You didn't push them away. You didn't not believe in them. You continue to pray for them, encourage them, and just be there for them and be present, which is something they may not have going on at home. So just being relatable, being relational, which is something you always talk about with the youth. It's extremely important because they might not be getting that at home, and you're able to be that spiritual guidance and that spiritual influence that they may need in that time. So that's amazing, and that's powerful to hear what you and Rosemary were going through at that time when you were installed as youth director. Another thing I want to get into, though, and I kind of want to backtrack a little bit because I did want to talk about this, but there was a period, from what I know about your testimony, there was a period where you walked away from the Lord, if I'm staying corrected. What do you feel like? Well, how was it during that time? But also, what do you think now, being at the stage right now? What do you think the Lord was teaching you in that moment, even when you were away from the church? What have you grabbed from that, and what is something that the Lord just placed in your heart and in your mind to you now during that time?
Just to give people a little history for those who may not know, but me growing up, so basically I grew up in the church because if I grew up, 8th grade, I grew up being a Christian since 8th grade, being in the church. So just because I was in the church doesn't mean I didn't have problems. Now, I didn't have the problems such as doing drugs, fornication, doing anything like that, but I just had other issues. So it did come a time where I was like, you know what? I'm walking away from the church. And this was really when I was in young adult. So young adult age, I'm starting to get overweight. I start to walk away. Coming from high school, being valedictorian, having so much success within the youth group, being really up here, but then something changed. And I don't know if it was self-esteem. Friends would come to my door. They would try to pick me up because we were all going to this like young adult style church at the time. And they would knock on my door and I would be like, you know what? I'm not coming outside, like leave. I wouldn't even go to the door. And how did it feel walking away? To be honest, I don't know why I walked away. Maybe because I was getting to a point where I was starting to be like really overweight. I didn't want to.
It was insecurity?
I was insecure. At the same time, I dropped out of school. No one that's like valedictorian in high school just drops out of school due to like out of college, but that's how it was. So I dropped out, and then that's when I almost died as well. But walking away allowed me to, when I started to walk away, that's when I felt like my whole world was crumbling. Nothing was going right. Went to the doctor, had the heart failure. They said if I didn't get there when I got there, I would have basically passed away. Heart was functioning at only 12%. I was at 450 pounds, so there was a lot that was going on. And then it was at that moment when I was away, I even picked up on cutting at the time.
So you was having like suicidal
self-mutilation, hurting myself, shutting myself off from the world, living basically in my room with no coming out, doing nothing. And then it was at that point where I was like, you know what? I need something to change. And in my job at the time, I thought I was doing really good. I had my retail job. I was working so many hours. And then they just cut me to 5 hours a week. And normally when they cut you to 5 hours a week, that's their way of trying to like just get rid of you. But without like, because they have nothing to fire you on. But they cut you so that you could just basically put your 2 weeks in. So they cut me to 5 hours. So everything that I thought that I was so far in life, I was so advanced, it was all these doors were shutting. And then that's when I decided, you know what? I need to go back to God. And that was never a thought. So only after all these doors shut, was I able to walk through the doors of the church again and come back. And when I came back, it was like the best thing that ever happened. I felt like the prodigal son. You know, I've been gone for so long, but I come through the doors and I was shown all this love. Like, we love you, we missed you, where have you been? And all this other stuff. And that's when I really started to get like locked in again. Even though I might have had a hiccup along the way, it was like, you know what? God was saying, there's a reason I brought you here.
That's actually powerful, and I feel like that shows the grace of God in that moment. Like, And the story of the prodigal son is amazing. It's like you got all these doors here, and each door, like you're trying to open to see what's inside of it, and it's like, oh, this don't work. Close this one, go to the next. Oh, this don't work. Close it, go to the next one, until like you get to the final door, and you're just like, man, nothing works. But then there's another door right beside you, and it's the Lord calling you home. It's the Lord calling you back to Him, calling you to forget all the things that you're trying to do, forget all, the worldly things you may be trying to do, or anything in your desire that you're trying to do, or anything else that the world is trying to feed you. Follow me, and I'll give you life. So and like I said, it literally shows the grace and the mercy of God, and it shows that the hand of God just being on your life constantly, even through the times you had heart failure, you were overweight, you had suicidal thoughts, all these things, but the Lord still had His hand on you, and He was able to eventually bring you back home, which that in itself literally shows the grace and the mercy of God, how He never fails us, He never gives up on us. And His plan for our lives is everlasting, and He desires for that plan to prevail. Even in the midst of us walking away, the Bible says, even when we're unfaithful, He's still faithful. So it's amazing to see the hand of God just continuing to be on your life in that moment, and pulling you eventually back into His ways and His will. I want you to talk a little bit, because there may be some people out there watching, and I just feel like there may be some people out there dealing with suicidal thoughts. Maybe some youth, maybe some young adults, maybe even some adults. For you, it was in your youth or young adult stage. How old were you at the time?
When I was dealing with the
cutting and everything?
With the cutting, we'll say like 23.
23. So you were in the 23. So you were in the young adult age. But it doesn't matter what age you are. But how did the Lord deliver you from those suicidal thoughts, and deliver you from you thinking less of what He thinks of you? Just talk about how the Lord delivered you through that, and what is your encouragement to those that may be dealing with that right now?
Yeah, the biggest thing is you really have to run to the Lord. So you really need to be prayer. Go talk to someone. But when I say talk to someone, don't talk to someone that's just like a counselor or whatever, but talk to a fellow brother, talk to a fellow sister. For me, I was able to come back because of all the principles that I learned while I was in youth group. Because there would be times, I gotta be honest, where I would be in the car and I was like, nobody loves me, and it was the doubt that was setting in. So doubt, and obviously the first thing that's gonna get attacked is your mind. So the doubt, maybe I'm worthless, maybe I'm nobody, maybe this is the situation. How come I'm not in a relationship? How come I don't have this? And then I was becoming my own worst enemy. And then it came to a point where it was like, maybe I should do this, but then there's that other voice that says, no, you are somebody. No, go come back to me. I'm gonna welcome you with open arms. I'm here for you. And a big thing too was during that whole time of the suicidal thoughts, the almost dying, and still dealing with the constant abuse, not that type of abuse, but like having that drug addicted father. It was all just like put me against the wall, where I felt like there's no way out. I need God. I need Jesus. If no one else is gonna have my back, he's stepping in and saying, I got you, and I'm not gonna let you go. And I think knowing those principles, knowing what I was taught, is what ended up bringing me back. And if I didn't have that, I don't know where I would be.
So, wow, that's powerful.
And also having, like I said, build, build your network. Stay in touch with people. So if you are a youth leader, stay in touch with your students. If you are in young adults, stay in touch with your fellow community, because God was working through the community. When I was going through what I was going through, I had my best friend, I had other friends, and God always showed me that no matter the situation, it wasn't just the church, but he was always there with me. Even when I got my retail job and my best friend, one of the first people I met, what do you know? He's a big Christian and we talk. What do you know? I'm at this person, Christian. So God is working through so many different people, and God can work through anyone and anywhere.
Amen. So now you're in young adults at this time. We just talked about how you walked away from the Lord, came back to the Lord around that age, like 22, 23. In the midst of young adults, and I want to transition a little bit, in the midst of young adults, you meet your now wife, Rosemary. Talk about, just give us a backstory on how you guys met, because what Todd mentioned earlier is that him and Rosemary, they weren't married yet, but they were serving in the youth ministry, doing ministry together. Obviously, eventually, you guys get married, but talk to us a little bit about you meeting Rosemary, how you guys met, and what the Lord did for you guys in that time while you were dating. Well, what he did for you guys while you were friends, then while you were dating, and eventually now getting into marriage.
I actually met Rosemary within the young adult ministry, but it was like the second time that I left the church. But this time so this is the other side of the coin. The first time I left the church was because of depression and whatnot. The second time I left the church was during young adults, but I left the church because I was basically dating someone within the young adults, and it like ended really bad.
Oh, okay.
So it ended bad to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm not coming back to the church because I don't want to see her. And at the same time, she wasn't coming to the church because she didn't want to see me. So the way our minds were working is that neither of us were going to the church, and no one was really benefiting. And in the day that I decide to come back is the same day that she decides to come back as well. So it's just funny how things work. But eventually, we get this new wave of people that are coming into the church, and I'm still stuck on, the past, this other girl, and then Rosemary ends up coming in. I'm not really looking at her at that way at the time, but then slowly over time, something just kicked in. And I'm telling her to like plan my 30th birthday party. I don't really know her like that. Plan this. We're serving together in young adults as basically staff. One thing leads to another. I'm just like, be honest, I'm hitting up the DMs. I'm talking to her, and then make a move. But it was good, man.
And so now, you were 30 at the time you met her.
Well, 29.
29. A lot of people younger than that, and I'm talking about like 18, 19, 20, that could seem like a long time to some people, but you waited that long for Rosemary. What is your thought process at the time? Because I'm with my girlfriend right now, and I'm young, I'm 22, but how are you thinking now at this point? You're older, you're in your 29, I know she was in her 30s at the time, but you were a little bit older, so what was your thought process like in that moment? Were you like, oh, like, I want to settle down, I want to get married? Were you like, oh, like, we're taking it slow? What was your thought process like in that moment?
Well, to be honest, this was like the first, even though, I was like dating someone else, but it was never really at the stage that I got to with Rosemary, to the point where we were like dating. And I wouldn't even say dating. I think when I started to like date her, I basically told her, like, this is not dating, this is courting. Like, I'm preparing you for marriage. Because during my youth age, there wasn't really, I'd read all these books. I went through the purity ceremony. I went through all this Christian like training where they're basically saying like, you don't really like date, but you're really courting for the one you want to marry. So I like dumped all this on her. She's coming off, and that's her testimony, but she's coming off like 2 breakups. So we're both at the stage like, listen, we don't have time to waste. This is what I want. She basically was telling me, this is what I want. You need to check these boxes. And then she had this notebook, and I never knew she had this whole notebook with like 40 questions.
Really? Like
40 questions. And then over time, I was checking off boxes or whatever. But I remember the first time that we really sat there and we spoke about the things that I told her the stuff that I wanted. She told me the stuff she wanted, and everything aligned. And then we start dating, and then everything seems like it's all eyes are on us. Because coming from the church, being in the church with her, she's a newer Christian, but for me, being a grandson of like an elder in the church, it's like everybody's looking. So now it's like, oh, Todd's after this girl. Oh, what's going on? Oh, everyone's looking, and that might have made her nervous at first but then to other people, they didn't even know I was dating. Because I like to keep my stuff private. So like I can do something and nobody in the room would ever know until I say, no, this is what's going on. But we're dating, and I gotta be honest. So when we're really dating, because I really didn't have my father, because he was always in Teen Challenge, because what I remembered from my grandfather, but he passed away when I was 6th grade, a lot of the time spent dating was basically her training me how to be a man. And she was like making me do stuff that I felt uncomfortable doing. Such as, there was me and my mom, for example, my biological mom, or my mom, doesn't matter, it's my mom. Like, we didn't really talk for a while because I guess I held a lot of resentment, bitterness, like, why'd you give me away? How come you couldn't take care of me? It was actually Rosemary telling me, like, before we get married, before we do anything, you need to work on these issues, because if you don't work on your issues with your mother, then if we do get married, you're gonna bring those same issues into the marriage. The same way with the father stuff. She gave me this expectation of, and that's how women do. So when women look for a guy, they're gonna judge you based on what their father did for them. So it was basically a lot of, listen, this is what my father does in the household. He goes and works. He does the ironing. He cooks. I can't cook, but he does the cooking. He does this. He does that. So if you want to come to me, you're gonna have to come up to my level. It was a lot of mentoring, like, you're gonna have to wear all these colognes because that's what I'm used to. You have to dress a certain way, but not like something that made me feel bad. At first, I'm like, no one's gonna tell me how to dress. No one's gonna tell me what to do. She was elevating me.
I was gonna talk about that because for me personally, I'll be honest, it's something I struggle with. Like, I feel like when I always say about my girlfriend now, Caitlin, and I know a lot of men can speak on this, even women, but I always say when you're in a relationship, the other person is able to see things that you don't. So I struggle with that because, like, Caitlin would tell me things, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm so used to being single on my own, doing my own thing. I'm just like, this is what I'm used to doing. And there was times, honestly, I was prideful, and I'm like, I don't want to do all that. You know what I mean? This is what I'm used to. But you talk about how, Rosemary was like, this is what I'm looking for. This is what you gotta deal with and you gotta handle. So I want you to talk about and basically give some encouragement on, like, dying to yourself, because that's literally what it is, dying to yourself and sacrificing so much because someone that you love is telling you, hey, I see this, and this needs to change. This needs to be different.
That's what your other half is definitely going to do. They are going to be your blind spot. And if they're truly your other half, technically they're going to be part of you. So you really shouldn't get offended at that, because two people become one flesh. So it's basically yourself telling you those things, but because you had a blind eye to it, or you may not have seen it before, then it becomes like, it's like a big like culture shock thing. Like, I didn't see that before. But you just have to accept it. And if you are at a point, and this is one of the big things that she would always tell me, and I was very prideful about this. Well, if you don't have your father at home to tell you, because you wasn't raised like that. Looking back now, I would be like, I'm not doing that. But looking back now, looking back at it from today, it's like, you know what? She does have a point. I do it now. Is that if you are at a stage, and this is why it's important, especially being a young man, just in any relationship, if you don't have someone that can tell you, go find somebody that can tell you. So I didn't have the father, the grandfather, but then all these other men. So I would get encouraged by all these other men that have successful marriages, could sit down and talk to me, and it was basically just growing with me, where they can give me the pointers, tell me what's what and whatnot. Because that first year of dating, so we officially got together in 2017. So from 2017 to 2018 was our year of basically dating. I was starting to get to know her. And I have this big philosophy where when you know someone, or you're dating, depending on the age, or it could apply to anybody, you should know somebody for at least 4 different seasons before you really start to take it up a notch. See how they are in the spring, summer, fall, winter. See how they are around their friends. See how they are around their family, because then that will let you know how things are going to be with you. And that first year was really just training me to be a better man and to break me out of the selfish habits. Not only was she correcting me as far as me approaching things that I should approach, but she wasn't leaving me alone to do that. She was right there by my side. So when I spoke to like my dad, she was out there telling him, like, listen, this is what's happening. This is what's what. She's very confrontational, but not confrontational to the point where it's like disrespectful, but confrontational out of the point where, listen, I love this man, and like, you're gonna have to accept me because we're gonna be one flesh one day. And then along the way, it's helping me become better. It's helping me become more confident. And she's seeing things in me that I might not have seen for a long time, especially becoming the youth pastor. It was a dream that I had years ago in 11th grade, but she was like, you know what? I'm going to help you get to where you need to go. And that's what a person will do. They will help better you. So that first year was cultivating me, helping me get better. And then that's when the second year hits and we get engaged. And in 2018, we get engaged. Then it's another year of really taking it step further. The church at the time didn't offer a lot of marital classes. So we had to go on our own and get our own knowledge. So we went to other churches. We listened to other couples, and they gave us the resources to take those steps. So even though we were together, we were dating, we were engaged, we were taking the steps as if we were married to make that next step.
So now I want to ask you this question, Todd. How big is seeking godly marriage counsel? Because you talked about how you and Rosemary got, you guys were engaged, but there wasn't a lot of marriage counseling at the church at the time, at the church at the time. So you guys had to branch out and go to other churches and seek wisdom. But to a couple that may be dating right now, thinking about getting married, a couple that may be engaged right now, and even a couple that's married right now, how important is seeking marriage counseling, going to marriage counseling, and just godly marriage influence. How important is that?
It's very important, because if marriage is going to be pretty much, besides getting saved, that's like the most important day in your life, when you find that significant other. So you always want to take all the steps to invest into that marriage, because once you have you want to build your marriage on a strong foundation, and you should always be trying to seek more, get more stable, get more stronger together. You want to be better together. You don't want to be branching off, doing your own thing, but you want to make the decisions together. So when you invest in that marriage, it just makes it much stronger, where no man is going to be able to separate what God has joined together. And it's very important. And you'll learn things over time. Like, one of the things I learned over just going to different marriage seminars and whatnot is they give you the lifeboat scenario. Like, you're on a lifeboat, and you can only save one person. It could be like your mom, your wife, or your daughter. Who do you save first? And a lot of people will say, oh, no, you save my daughter because she's the future. A lot of people will say, oh, I can't give up on my mom. But the real answer is you save your wife or your spouse first, because once you save your spouse, you guys are locked in, you're joined, you're one flesh anyway. Then you can make the decisions to be like, okay, what do we need to do in order to save A and B, save the others? But a lot of people don't necessarily jump to that conclusion first. And that's why it says that when you get married, that a man will leave his family to cleave on to his wife. So that's why you have to take everything you can into planning your own family and making that family. And if you don't have the resources to go out and branch out, because you can get marriage counseling, which is good. You can get it from one perspective, but then, and Christian marriage counseling though. I mean, Christian seminars, but it's just good just getting more information in, so you can learn all different types of stories. And you need to learn about marriage from different seasons of people's lives. Like I said, that first year, I thought I was good. I got her like during Christmas time, a lot of Christmas gifts or whatever. But then what I got her, she wasn't happy with. And as everyone knows, I'm a big wrestling fan. So I got her tickets to like her favorite artist at the time, which I'm not afraid to say. So she was big into the rapper J. Cole. We went to I got these tickets for her. I thought it was like awesome. We were good, this and that. But then she looked at the tickets that I got her, and she was like, what is this? It's like, you got me these tickets, but are these the same type of level tickets that you would buy to go to one of your wrestling shows? And then it hit me. And I was like, oh, that does sound pretty selfish, because if everyone knows that if I go to wrestling, I'm sitting like close, I'm sitting there, but then I can't invest the same amount of time into her. So that's just little things that I had to learn, like, treat her better than I treat me. Second year, we're engaged. It's more learning. And then we get married. And then that was a whole nother season altogether, because now we're doing it the traditional way. So it's not like we're one of the couples where we moved in first, we did it the true Christian way. We're both culture shocked now, because now we're adapting, because I'm moving in, we're moving into a new place together. We're building our own thing, but now we have to get used to the habits of each other. So that was like another adjustment. And that's why it is important to talk to other couples, at least Christian couples, because they can tell you, no, this is normal. This is what you're going to go through. And if you see something that you don't like, or something that's like, oh, yeah, they're telling me this, what does this mean? Find you a man that's been through it, that can tell you, when she says this is what this means. And then you'll know, okay. Because everyone, I'm sure, has experienced it before. Whether you've been married 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, somebody has gone through what you're going through. So that's why it's important.
Yeah, that's amazing advice. I'm a little away from the marriage thing, because this is not marriage counseling, but Now I want to get back into ministry.
Okay.
You got the call from what we talked about earlier. You got the call of being a pastor at a young age. But for those that don't know, you got installed as youth pastor last year, 2024. You got, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were called to be a pastor around like 16?
11th grade, yep.
16? Now you're 39, correct?
Yep.
So, or last year when you were installed, were you 38?
38.
38. So that's 22 years. That's a long time. Take us through the process of, having this calling of being a pastor, but having to wait this long. And I know you speak about Joseph
I was
a lot,
about to mention
I know you'll mention him after this, but yeah, just share with us the process of that and just having to go through a season of serving, of waiting, being patient, and being poured into, while also pouring out and learning how to pour out and do all these things. Take us through that journey.
It started back, like I said, when I was in youth group. So really when I was in youth group, learning all these things as a youth, like as a student, what are they trying to teach me? How are they reaching me? And then getting those principles to where I am serving under and being appreciative all the way. When I just become just a regular youth leader, doing drama, teaching them drama, to joining under Jake and really him sitting there and telling me, this is how you do this, show me the behind the scenes, prepping me. And then I remember after he prepped me, I thought that it was my time, that I was going to be the next person in line. And then it was at that point when Jake moves on, he goes back to Missouri, to his home church, to be youth pastor. I thought I was going to be next in line. And then it's like, God's like, no, because then someone else comes in. So now I have to sit here and be someone else's right-hand man. And the whole time it's like, I don't really want to, I'll be honest, I don't really want to do this. I don't want to really be this person's right-hand man. And then it became to a point where I was like, you know what? I'm doing it, but then I really wasn't doing it for the Lord. But then that person that came didn't really stay for that long anyway. So then finally it was like, you know what? Now's your season. This is your time. I would say it's been a blessing though. But the biggest thing that you have to do, no matter what, is be the biggest servant leader. Like you can be the supervisor, but in order to be a supervisor, you have to know how to be a servant leader first. You need to know how to be a soldier. You need to know how to be a servant so that you can learn all the steps that are needed in order to be an efficient worker. So that way you can be really hands-on. And I think for me, the waiting made it much better, because I look at it like, why am I not in this position yet? How come I spent all this time we get Pastor Henry, and he was like, yeah, Todd, I heard that you've been doing this already. You've been serving here. But if you really want to be the next level, get your schooling, get your credentials, take the next step. And I feel like all this time, even though it felt so hard to wait, it was God, the one orchestrating everything from the beginning, saying, you know what? I have you waiting for a season for a certain reason. I have you waiting because he was building me up to the point where he knew I could handle it. And now that I'm here, it's like, I look back and I was like, you know what? It was worth it. Because now I'm at an age, I'm at a point where I appreciate it more, and now I can pass on what I learned onto others. And it's the same thing I was going to mention with the Joseph, where he's sitting there and he gets the dream. And me being the dreamer, my nickname, the dreamer, doesn't even come from Joseph, but it just, that's how God works. But Joseph having his dream, where he's going to rule over everyone and his brothers and everyone's going to bow down before him or whatever, to him getting too cocky too early, trying to like rub it in. And then he goes into a pit and trying to force his way when he's in prison with the cupbearer, telling him like, oh, when you get out, make sure you tell the Pharaoh to remember me. And then he has to wait. So everything has been a waiting, but it's been building for me to be in this moment.
Wow.
And then once you get and you have that moment, it's like, even though I'm appreciated this and I'm so happy to be here, it's more about pouring what I know into the others. And it's not just the students, but it's like people like you, people who are fired up to be in the ministry. And it's not just about Joseph, but it's really like we talked about it before, having like a Paul and a Timothy.
Yeah.
In order for you to be a Paul, you need to have been a Timothy at one point.
Exactly.
And so, and it should be a cycle that just keeps going.
Pastor Henry, our Pastor Henry, our lead pastor here at the church, he's poured that into me, what you just said. He's told me before, usually great leaders once were great servants. And I had to meditate on that for a little bit because I'll open up about this recently, very recent, going through a situation in my job where I'm feeling like I want to be promoted. You know what I mean? I do what I got to do. I do what is asked of me. I know a lot about the job. I'm well experienced now. I feel like I should take that next step. But there's still people that, honestly, the Lord has in place for that position already. Someone else to get trained and stuff like that and everything of that nature. And I'm just like, well, when is my time? But one thing that I had to meditate on is, and just encourage anybody that's going through a season like that, you have to remember that in the midst of all that, the Lord is doing that for a purpose. He's doing that for a reason. It may not be because you're not doing anything necessarily wrong, but there's things that he wants to teach you and pour into you that in that moment he wants you to grab and dwell on for a while. So when you get to that moment, Pastor Henry shares this story about that all the time. You just shared your story about it, and you just shared about how you're grateful that it happened, and you're at the point now where you can take what you learn and pour that into someone else. You can be relational to somebody else too and relatable, because you went through that same thing. You recently, not recently, but you gone through that same thing of being on the back burner, being a servant, doing whatever, and you're not a leader yet, but then it comes a time where, you're waiting, you're being patient, and you become a leader. You're able to now share with the next guy, hey, this is what I went through. This is how long I had to wait. And the Lord is doing it for a reason, for a purpose, because he wants to instill things in you and teach you things that you can take with you. And when you get to that point, when the Lord now puts you in that position, you'll be able to be a great leader, because at the time you were a great servant. And that's what the Lord is trying to teach you in that moment, is to be a servant. That's what he's teaching me in that moment. For my job, even with ministry, what he's taught you, so many other people, be a servant and serve well. Serve as unto the Lord. And that'll eventually make you into a great leader. I don't mean to talk crazy, but I also think it's important to observe during that time. Observe and watch not just what your leaders do right, but also what they do wrong. So now, and this is why I also know that the Lord does this, the things that they do wrong and the things that they do good, you can take and say, I know not to do that. This is good. I like that he does that. That's something that I see is fruitful. Now those things you can take when you become a leader, and now you're able to instill that into your ministry, apply to your ministry, and you're able to take what you received and what you learned and observed and give it to somebody else that's coming along the way. And it's crazy because like we both serve in the ministry, but this is your, if you were talking about you serving in the youth ministry. And it's crazy how we're talking about all these things. And one thing that I'm thinking about even in this moment is how it's all about giving back, which is something you talk about a lot in general. It's all about giving back, taking what you learned along the way and giving it to the next generation. And that's what youth ministry is all about, taking what you got, giving it to the next generation so they can be successful, so they can be complete, so they'll lack nothing, and they'll be prepared for what the Lord has ahead for them. So,
and one of the coolest things right now about having to wait is that it's not just even in the church too. So what I learned going into the New York School of Ministry, becoming installed as a pastor here, in my job this year, I just got promoted to a brand new position. Like God pointed the position to me out when they came out with this chart, like back in the beginning of the year. And he showed me all these new positions that the company would have. And one of them said team leader. And I was like, you know what? I think that's going to be me. The way it's written, I think that's going to be me. So then I applied for it, got it. And the way it works out is that the same thing I'm doing at the church is literally the same thing I'm doing at work. It's literally the same exact job, except one's secular, one's in spiritual. But the thing at secular is I feel like I'm at the church again, because all the leadership skills that I learned here, all the Christian foundations I'm pouring into work. I have a Timothy under me at work. We talk positive. We talk about Christ. And then I'm teaching him, like, listen, in the same way that I was blessed and I get promoted and they're going to try to promote me again, is I'm going to do the same for you, and I'm going to pour into you so that you can get it in turn. It's just so wonderful.
Yeah. What I want to talk about, because we're talking about taking what we learned and pouring out. So I want to talk about the next generation now. What do you feel like there is a different kind of fire now than there in this generation, this young generation, than there was in past generations or in your generation?
I think now students they're so fired up with, especially as the Assembly of God program, the whole Youth Alive program is excellent, where students feel empowered to not only just be Christians, but now they want to start movements across their schools. They want to be like campus missionaries. They want to start something up where they plant a seed in their school and they want to invite more people to Christ. That's becoming more and more just expressive in today. And in, like, back in my day, it was like, okay, you go to the altar call, that was it. And then what's next? And then you may not be like invested. But now, because of the way technology has advanced, people are just so more in tuned into everything, where they're on their Bible app. They see the Bible here, they see the Bible there. They're reading more, they're praying more, they're more into the worship music. They're more having a more of a deeper relationship. And I think something's starting to awaken up. In this generation, that they're not going to be contained.
Yeah.
So they're fired up for Christ.
I feel like one of the things that me and Miles actually were talking about too was that we feel like a lot of the next generation is coming to Christ is because they realize the world has nothing to offer. Everything that pertains to the world, the wild parties, the drinking, sleeping around with different people, drugs, all these things, fame, trying to be like this person, trying to be, obtain riches, and all these things leave you empty at the end of the day. And I feel like the next generation and the generation now, which is Gen Alpha, even Gen Z, We're and they're coming to realize that Jesus Christ is the only way, and He is true fulfillment. Everything else will leave us empty. Everything else will leave us unsatisfied. But Jesus Christ is the one that will satisfy us. He's the one that gives us life and gives us peace and all these things, and gives us purpose, and lets us realize, like, hey, I love you, and what I have for you to do, you're going to enjoy it. It's not going to be like a burden, but you're going to enjoy doing what you're doing. And I see it now in the youth today, like, and even in young adults. Like this, for example, the Lord called me to do this, He called Miles to do videography, something we enjoy doing. I enjoy doing this. Miles enjoys doing the videography. So many youth, they enjoy dancing. They enjoy the drama. They enjoy the preaching and all these things. And it's amazing to see them just dwelling in the things of God and going into the things that God has for them. So it's an amazing thing to witness. Now, my last question of the night, still about the next generation, is what do you see the Lord doing in Gen Alpha that gets you most excited?
Aside from being the campus missionaries, I see them just really being fired up and on fire. I see them praying more. When you go somewhere and I see our students are responding to altar calls, that there's something that's pulling them there. And it's like, why is it pulling them there? Why do they want to be there? It's like something's stirring up, and then it's like they want more. And the students that are answering the call, it's students that I'm like, wow, I wouldn't expect that student to answer it, but there's something that's happening that they may not know what it is, but it's that call that they're getting that's pulling them in that direction, and they just want more, and they're so hungry to learn, because like you mentioned before, the parties, they don't have nothing out there, so if they can't invest in those things, why not invest it into the one that can just invest in them?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, I'm excited for what the Lord is doing in Gen Z, Gen Alpha. Yep. Like you said, and I've been on trips with you guys, Fine Arts and Tusk and all these things. Seeing kids respond to altar calls, seeing the Lord just doing things in their hearts at such a young age too. Because I was saved at a young age, but not as young as they are. These kids are 12, yep. 13, 14, 15, coming to Christ. They're going to school. That's probably the biggest thing for me, is them going into their schools, which is something I wish I wish I was saved in high school. I had that opportunity. But just seeing them in their high schools, going in there and starting these clubs, these Christian clubs, and doing evangelism on their campuses and all these things. Campus ministries, seeing them do those things, and not afraid, not what's the word I'm looking for? Not there's not a word that is a word I'm looking for.
And they're like bold too. Like,
yeah,
they're doing stuff that I haven't even. I'm like, ooh. Like certain stuff, like I might be scared to do.
Yeah.
Like even today, I don't know if I could. Well, I could, but like being like a world missionary, going into a different country, being like, I'm gonna witness on the street, and it doesn't matter if my life might be in danger, or I can walk through the city, I can walk through the inner slums, I can witness the people, I can be that. It's like, wow. It's like they have to really be called in order to do those things.
Yeah. And it's literally like a Holy Spirit thing. Like, it's literally just like the Holy Spirit. And that goes to show us, like, God can use anybody. It don't matter if you're 12, 22, 32, 40, 50. It doesn't matter. Like, the Lord can use anybody. And we see it now in this generation that He's using these young kids, to reach other young kids, to show them, hey, you don't go in the way of gangbanging or doing drugs or dwelling in sexual sin and going into all these parties, trying to do your own will, trying to chase the fame and the riches, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. True fulfillment comes from serving Christ, living for Christ, and being in Christ. So just like you said, I'm excited for what the Lord is doing in this generation. I can't wait to see what continues to go on. And as leaders, what we're called to do is just continue to encourage them. And like been talking about all today, giving back what we got, what we received, just giving back to them and watching God do his thing and the Holy Spirit do his thing and through them.
And I think one of the best things for me, and I'm sure Rosemary could say the same thing, is like in 2019, that's when we had our Faithful 7. And I think it was about 2022 when things started to open up again after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we went from, because we got our pastor, Henry, from Bethlehem, and then we have all these new families coming to the church. So our youth group went from being predominantly like neighborhood kids, which were the Faithful 7, to I have all these other kids now. And it's like a lot. So it just went to like boom to 40. But when we had our first major event in like 2022, seeing the Faithful 7 all showed up that day, just to basically, it's like a passing of the torch to say, this is awesome. Like, you know, they're happy to still see that it's still going on. That meant a lot to me.
Amen.
Because we poured it in them, and now they're off doing their own thing. Or being on the street somewhere and you see someone that you might have ministered to 3 years ago, and then they can call you out from the store and be like, oh, Todd, is that you? Oh, and you see them, they're like grown up, they look good.
Yeah.
Not that they didn't look back then, but remembering how they were back then to now, it's like you're doing something.
Yeah.
Like, it's good.
Amen. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in to our second episode here with Pastor Todd. Gave an amazing testimony, shared some powerful things, and even gave us some nuggets that we could take with us along the way. Make sure that you guys just subscribe to the channel. Share this video with somebody that you may know. It will encourage them. It will empower them. They may be going through some things that Todd and I spoke about. And I believe that the Lord is going to use this video to encourage them. So we thank you guys for tuning in. We thank you for all your support. We're thankful to the Lord for what he's doing in and through this channel, this ministry, I'll actually call it. And Happy New Year to you guys. I pray that you guys have a blessed new year and that you guys continue in the plan of the Lord as well. And we'll catch you guys in the next video.